So I noticed my bride outside, distraught. She makes her way in and she's in tears. And she tells me, JC, I brought you all the way up here to take care of my wedding. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
Welcome to the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Show, where we chat with local wedding vendors. I'm Josh from Evermoore Films, the host of the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Show, also the home of the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Directory, where we have over 1,000 local wedding vendors listed in the Central California area. Let's get into today's show. Hey, welcome to the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Show, where we are going to chat with local wedding vendors. And today on episode number 1, we've got JC from AllSound Music. That's an exciting DJ company here in town. JC, we've known him for a long time, and he's excellent at what he does. So we decided to have him on the show as our first episode. Welcome, JC. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little more about what you do.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We, like you just said right now, we've known each other for a number of years. We've been in many battles together / the wedding game. And it's just such a blessing. And we're super proud of what you're doing with the directory. And I'm excited to be on the first episode here. So as Josh said, my name is JC Cota, and myself and my son, Anthony Cota, and believe it or not, my wife, who's our admin queen. She does everything as far as contracts, payments, all that good stuff. Jamie Lynn Cota. We own and operate AllSound Music Entertainment. Now, ipso facto, we also operate ASM dance floors, completely different entity. But what we do in a nutshell is we serve families on the most important days, wedding days, anniversaries, any milestone events, anything that's detailed in regards to needing an actual MC to facilitate and manage the time, along with maybe the pizzazz of some cold sparks and, some uplights here, there, a moving light show, a dance floor. That's where we live right there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know that, we've worked with you over the years, and we know you do excellent work. So one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, just to kind of talk about your experience. So that's actually the next thing I'd love to chat about. Tell us a little bit about your background, your experience. So keeping in mind that the audience for this show is going to be about half brides who are planning their wedding and about half all our other vendor friends. We've got, 1,000 vendors on the directory, and I'm sure a lot of them are tuning in to see what's going on here. So tell us a little bit about your background and experience in weddings.
Okay, well, my journey started in 1985. I was a 15-year-old kid. As a 13-year-old kid, I begged my dad for a mixer. Long story short, we got one. I showed him what he did with it, and he was collecting 45s at that point. 45s, for all y'all don't know, is the little 45 records, so the smaller records. Google that if you're that young. But we started to record party kits for my dad and his friends, and he would sell them and whatnot. And we got a call one time, and believe it or not, we planned this big oldies but goodies party. So that's where it started. And I pulled my influences from many of my Ventura County past DJs when I was a kid. Honestly, I have to give kudos to Howard Thomas, HT, J Scratch, John Manzella, even like Steve Perez, who's still doing it back in the day. Now he's still doing it. Now, I fell in love with the idea of playing music, and I saw these people dancing, and I was one of those people dancing on the floor, and the energy just, oh my goodness, it charged me. Very first time I touched actual turntable, no joke, I had this like thing happen to me, and I was hooked. I was hooked, man. It was my first love, and I was already from a 5-year-old. I could remember the Paul Simon music and whatnot my dad would play. I was born into that house that you hear about where the dad wakes the family up on the weekends with blaring music. That was our house. So my dad was like my music teacher without even knowing it. But long story short, we DJ'd together for a while, myself and my dad. They called him Big Don. I called him Pop. A few years, we came to Bakersfield in 95. I had to reinvent myself again. My pop was pretty much out of the game at that point, so I kind of took over. I had no idea what I was doing in regards to the actual service industry, and about the service industry that's married to, the music and everything else. I can't make an announcement if I'm not serving. But the bottom line is, Anthony, once he turned 15, he started to play video games, very expensive video games. I said, okay, I'll buy you whatever you want when we wake up, but you're going to come to work. That turned into, hey, this way, that way. We had growing pains together. I didn't know how to manage. He just did. He was young, but we grew together, and through the years, we not only sharpened our tools, but through the grace of God Himself, we have developed a system, and it's based on taking care of brides, grooms, families, events on the day of, alleviating any pressure, alleviating any stress or any of that good stuff. Everybody has the lights and everything else, but what makes us truly special is not only our faith in Jesus, but it is also what He's blessed us with, the ability to work a microphone in most likely the most unique fashion that Bakersfield has seen maybe ever. I'm completely different. I don't have the prototypical radio voice, but I have a whole lot of charisma. I love what I'm doing. You can clearly tell there's an excellent passion. And Anthony has quietly turned into what I see as the best wedding DJ from a multiple genre perspective that I think I've ever seen. He superseded what I've done in the past. There's a little story with that as well.
That's fun. That's fun. So, I mean, for those that haven't seen you in action, explain to us a little bit about what sets ASM apart.
So what sets us apart is it all starts when I'm walking through the crowd, believe it or not. When I'm walking through the crowd to get from here to there or to check the sound or whatever the case is, I just can't help but to talk to who's around me. And I stay very approachable through the event. And I think that just feeds off into the crowd. And so they're very comfortable with us. So we set that family environment from the beginning. And we let everybody know what our intentions are. Our whole thing is communication with not only the crowd, but as you well know, our vendor family, our vendor partners that day, of course, the bride, the groom, or say the birthday girl, whatever the case is, or whatever whoever the VIP is that day. And then of course the staff and everybody else. I always say if it's a spoke on the moving wheel of the event / wedding day, we're going to be communicating. And we just do that consistently. Also, what really separates us is our style of music. First of all, we can go from the swing, and we know our music. We know the genres. So we just don't have a bunch of Benny Goodman songs. We know the genre. My dad was like out there as far as musically, and up to the 50s and 60s, the oldies but goodies, the classic rock, and then the 70s, the soft rock, which is one of my favorite genres of all time. And then of course I was born in the 70s, so I went through the 80s, 90s, and then at the current date, Anthony being 31 years old, he's still connected. Fun fact about Anthony, the reason why he's so connected, or one of the big reasons why, he's a youth pastor at our church. So we have anywhere from 13 to young adults in the house every Wednesday. I help them serve that ministry. And it really helps us to stay connected. Musically, we listen to what the kids are playing, and they'll say, hey, have you heard this or that? And it just, you pick up. And so you stay connected and you stay sharp in that aspect. So we can take you from here to there. But ultimately, what we strive for is just to provide excellence on your day. Nobody's perfect outside of the one person we know has been perfect on earth. But what we do is we strive for excellence. In Jesus' name, we do everything. And that's pretty much that right there in a nutshell. We just have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know that you probably have a lot of good stories, but before we get to stories, before we get to the stories, so give us, especially like potential brides and sometimes other vendors, sometimes on a wedding day, it's so busy, we never get a chance to chat as vendors. And so sometimes we don't realize that, hey, someone started offering dance floors, or they're doing this or doing that. So just kind of give us a picture of what AllSound does, what services you guys offer, and how you guys help brides on a wedding day to achieve their wedding dreams.
Okay, right on. Okay, so first of all, AllSound Music Entertainment, that's the DJing aspect. So it's music, the emceeing, the time management, which is huge with us. In most cases, we don't really have a wedding coordinator. We may have an event coordinator, but we don't have an actual wedding coordinator that's going to take the timeline, itinerary, and all that good stuff with like some of our friends do in the industry. So we provide the timeline, the itinerary, but we also manage it on the day of, which is the most important part. Outside of that, I'll communicate, I'll facilitate referrals and whatnot at the very beginning. It starts with our Zoom consultation. I start with the Zoom consultation, and it tells the story in a picture sense with stills from all of our wonderful photographers in Bakersfield. And you know probably better than I do, it's kind of this way, that way, but we have the most wonderful batch of photographers, I think, in the world. They're so talented. They're an awesome group. So with that being said, we tell that story, we present, we don't sell. So through that presentation, they see the love, they see the care that they're going to get. And if that's your cup of tea, then we move on. What we specifically provide along with that is obviously the DJing, which is clean music through every genre from the oldies but goodies era to current date, Latin and English. We're fluent with the music that way and whatnot. We have a slew of Christian and upbeat gospel music as well. So we do a lot of church events and school events and all that good stuff. We have a fantastic line of uplights, which is a big thing with video and pictures. So we've spent a little more with our uplights so that we can provide that ambiance. Our whole thing is to accent the room or accent the event, not to take it over and overpower it. Of course, we've got the moving headlight show and whatnot. And if that's applicable to your personality, let's go. Our most popular over the last 10 years, our most popular add-on has been the cold sparklers. And you know how that goes. It's the money shot. It's the first entrance. And it's if you have the right setting, it's the grand entrance. Then it's the couple's first dance and whatever spots you want to highlight, right? On top of that, 6 years ago when my daughter got married, we bought a smaller dance floor, smaller in that aspect of what we own now. We didn't know that was going to birth an actual company. So now we own and operate ASM Dance Floors, which is a dance floor company that we rent anywhere from a 12 by 12 size. We can go all the way up to a 40 by 40. We have 4 different colors, including a real popular black and white, dark maple and white, and of course the all white. And that's taken a life onto itself. But you know, God's blessed us with a couple of young men that are stronger, and you know they're moving for us. And man, I'm letting them at this point, bro. Yeah, there's no ego involved. Go ahead, pick that up, dudes. Go ahead and take care of this. Go ahead and load the truck. Go ahead and load the van. So there's been a lot of things that have happened for us in regards to letting go. But by letting go, you can actually do more in this aspect. So it's growth. It's growth.
That's awesome. So like how many dance floors do you have? How many events do you do in a day? Tell us a little bit more about the dance floor side of things.
We have a very specific way of handling events in a day, because that's one of my frequently asked questions from our potential brides. How many events are you going to do a day? Because they see this and they're like, are you going to be there? Or is Anthony going to be there? Because you're talking this. And that's why we only have one team. We have one rig that goes out. I have friends that I can refer out all day long, and I have some awesome DJ friends. But with that being said, we take one event per calendar day. If it's a massively detailed wedding with a huge dance floor, which a huge dance floor is anything from 21 to 21, 24 by 24, possibly up to a 30 by 30. That's a big dance floor. You're talking 250 up to 500-600 people. If it's something that detailed, we only take one a weekend. And that's pretty much that right there. Now, dance floors themselves, we have a slew of dance floors. Like I said, we have 4 colors, so those can go out to multiple events. Sometimes we have last minute stuff that calls me on a Friday morning when we're actually loading to go out and set up. We set up on Friday mornings. We typically will pick up Sunday a.m. before church. Believe it or not, we pick up and we're actually able to make service. So, you know, it's a good win-win. We're bang, bang. And we're really quick and efficient with everything we do. And we really honed that aspect. But just to be clear, we are not a rental company outside of the dance floors. We rent dance floors, but we stay very connected to what our expertise is. I understand that when I go set up a dance floor and they're asking me questions, I'm an educated mind of 3 decades plus. So I can, your DJ wants to be connected to the dance floor. And it's very important not to say, well, I think that might be good, or, maybe you kind of could, you can't speak like that in regards to helping someone plan or specifically answering questions, which is what you're guaranteed to get from us. You're going to get a specific yes, no, and in almost every instance, through 500 weddings plus and 3 decades in the business, 3 generations in the business, I most likely am going to have multiple answers for whatever questions I get.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to hear about some of the memorable moments that JC has had in his career. If you're planning a wedding in Central California, you have to check out the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Directory. We've built one of the most comprehensive directories for local wedding vendors in the Central California area. You can sort by county and by category, so you can find anything from hair and makeup to cake bakers to videographers, photographers. We have it all. Go check it out. It's free to use for brides, and if you're a vendor looking to get your name in front of couples who are engaged, go get yourself listed on the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Directory. It's free to join. We look forward to seeing you there at evermoorefilms.com. Click on the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Directory tab on the top and check it out.
Elegant, romantic, timeless. Choose a wedding film that brings back the goosebumps and butterflies from your wedding day. A wedding film you're proud to show family and friends. Reliable, affordable, convenient. Choose a wedding videographer that you can trust to do an amazing job, that can creatively work with your budget, that is easy to communicate with. A wedding day is made up of priorities unique to you. No matter your budget, you choose what's important to you. Have zero regrets as you plan the wedding celebration of your dreams. Get monthly payment plans with zero deposit, online contracts, free printables, vendor lists, and more. Choose a wedding film that you will cherish forevermore. Choose Evermoore Films.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're here with JC from AllSound Music, chatting about everything weddings and DJs and dance floors and all the good stuff that they offer. So, JC, I'd like to ask you, you've been doing this for a long time. What are some fun memories, crazy stories, fun stories, just some good memories along the way, something you'd like to share?
So I've been in the business for, like I said, my dad and I started, so we're 3 generations, myself, my dad, and Anthony, my son. Our son, I should say. And through the years, man, we've been through the troughs and tribulations, as you well know. One story in specific that sticks out in my brain right now is we met with a couple and they were getting married in Tahoe. So that was the first question. Will you travel?
Right.
8 hours, because if you get in the car and you do this, that's 8 hours, man.
Yeah.
So we decided, okay, let's go. Let's hold a consultation. We're open. Everybody's agreed. Let's go. I met with them. I met with them for like 3 hours, which means we ended up just chatting and visiting and just completely connecting. And back in those days when we were meeting in person, it would frequently happen. You shoot for an hour like it is on the Zoom.
Right.
You go 1 hour, but if you're in person, it frequently went 2 hours. So it was impossible for my wife and I to plan something afterwards because she knew it just wasn't going to happen. He was going to keep yapping. And I never looked at the watch and said, okay, hey, we got like 5 minutes and I gotta bounce. Right. That wasn't how it happened. Long story short, we ended up going to Tahoe, which is an adventure in itself.
Right.
We got there, got into the room, and that was, whoa. So that was crazy. We got settled and everything else, and we just got to bed, and we got a knock on the door. It was super cool. We had this big basket of everything from Listerine strips to snacks and water and everything else. So it was a thank you from them for us coming up to Tahoe and taking care of business. Little awesome. Do we know, the coordinator, and that's why I call them the coordinators, the on-site coordinators are different than actual coordinators, professional coordinators.
Right.
They had a timeline that was choppy and completely against what we were going to do. And they were driving the bride to literal tears. And that's when I took the ownership of it. And when God charges us with the wedding, oh baby, he charges us and we've got to deliver. So I noticed my bride outside, distraught. She makes her way in and she's in tears.
Oh, man.
Excuse me. We had a moment right then, right there. She's crying. I start to cry. And she tells me, JC, I brought you all the way up here to take care of my wedding. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. She's driving me crazy. This isn't working. My time's being wasted. My family wants to party and we want to have a good time. She's not giving me a good time. Tell me what to do. And she was begging me. And I just took a deep breath and I dried my eyes and I said, it's our show now. I said, God's going to lead us through this and we're going to take over and we're going to have the wedding that I promised you. Period. And so I grabbed my itinerary. We had to do this. We literally ran over, this not in the car, but we ran over this coordinator and her timeline. She wasn't getting it. We had to completely ignore what she was doing. And I had to physically take charge of the bridal party and line them up and do this and that. And the only thing I did was I checked with the kitchen because that's one thing that we cannot control.
Can't move that.
Ready. So food was ready to go, and it was sitting there. So I'm like, oh no, we're gonna. She had this and this, and we're gonna cut the cake, and we're gonna. And I was like, whoa, hold on. So we completely revamped everything. We went with our itinerary, which got thrown out. We brought it back in. We took it from square one, did the grand entrance. Everybody had a blast with the grand entrance. We never passed the microphone around to the room. But on that day, we ended up passing the microphone around to the room. Everybody was crying. There were tears of joy. Because there was so much love in the room, bro. Everybody wanted to celebrate Sherry and Manuel. They wanted to celebrate them. And the microphone literally went, and nobody cared how long it took. Because when we got to dancing, man, it was just like everything was flawless. Everything seamlessly went from one thing to another. But it was a literal disaster turned in to God's good. And giving God all the glory because all I said was, Jesus, come with me. Holy Spirit, take over. And tell you what, he took over. And when he took over, we just put our plan that he gave us, because it's not our plan, it's his, that got thrown out, but we brought it back in. And guess what, man? We still to this date have the best relationship with that family. And we ended up doing her brother Jesse's wedding. And so it was another party, and that was another platinum wedding. It was just awesome, man. But we developed those relationships through being in the fire. We were the three, he's the fourth, and together we're in that fire, and we got through, man. And like those three, when they came out of the fire, we were unscathed. We didn't even smell like smoke, baby. We smelled like awesome wedding. So to this day, we have that developed awesome relationship with all our families. And that's the thing. I could sit here for days and talk to you about our family connections, but we're so blessed. We're just so blessed to have those types of stories happen frequently without now the coordinator doing this and that, because in my elder stateshood, you get it. All the grays and whatnot, they listen a little more, and I'm a little more upfront with how I present what's going to happen on the day of. You don't need to babysit us or micromanage us. And I say that not disrespectfully, but I say that to free you up. Take care of your venue. We've got everything else. We're going to partner up. And that was one of the major partnering up moments of my career. And then long story short, that same coordinator came to me that at the end of the night, she didn't apologize because she didn't need to apologize because she was just doing her job. And I realized that. And I told her that. And so I think I released her from that. But she said, wow, I really like, is there a way I can get a copy of this itinerary? So maybe I gave her the itinerary.
Nice.
I said, we have multiple copies. I don't need this one. Go off of this. This is tried true. I don't know how many hundreds of times we've done it, but it You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Come on, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, baby. We know about that.
That's awesome. That
That's just
is
one
a
of
great
many
story.
stories that, again, I could stay here for days, but that was one of the stories that when you said, "Hey, share something that was special / unique," and that's the story that popped into my head.
Yeah. Well, that is a fantastic story.
Oh man, I almost got a little emotional right there. Till I go
Hey,
back.
that's right. That's right.
You'll see JC crying every now and again at a wedding.
I'll give you a Kleenex through Zoom.
That's it, man.
There we go. There we go. Well, that's perfect. So that actually leads perfectly into my next question, which is, what advice do you have? And this is kind of like a multi-part question, so we'll step through
exactly. It. I can already hear it.
So what advice do you have for couples who are looking for a DJ, just in general?
Right. Thank you for putting it that way.
Yeah. So the three parts, and we'll tag each of them quickly, about 30 seconds maybe on each. Okay. Advice for brides looking for a DJ. Advice for couples who are trying to budget for DJs. And then what should brides consider when specifically booking with you guys? So we'll take the first part, advice when you're looking for a DJ.
Advice for looking for a DJ. Be thorough. Be 100%. People will frequently, this DJ wasn't good, and they don't use the term wasn't good. Who hired them? What was your process? Did you interview with them? Did you interview with them? Did you do multiples? Because once one is great, but what about the others, or whatever the case is, it'll lead you back to the greater one. And ultimately, honestly, pray on it. God will help you, guide you to the right vendors, but be thorough. Check reviews, et cetera, do the groundwork before you lead into the actual decision.
That's awesome. That's good. So what advice do you have for couples when they're budgeting for a DJ?
Well, I mean, budgeting, there's the B word right there.
Right.
You really gotta know, okay, this is my important hotspot. And to be blunt with you, if music is your hotspot, then don't chintz, that old school saying, don't chintz on your DJ. Your cake is beautiful and all, but does it need to cost that much? And, this is beautiful and all, but do you need that? Put that budget towards what's really important to you. And again, it goes back to being thorough. Maybe you have a guy that's $500 less, and maybe that $500 is a lot to you. And I have brides that talk to me, and I know that God, it came down $500 and might have booked it. But we have our standards, and we charge what we charge for specific reasons, and you know about that as well as I do. But be smart when you're budgeting. Be smart. Is that really where you want to cut the corners?
Yeah, that is great advice. We always tell couples, and we have a wedding budget worksheet on our website for couples, some printables. And one of the things we say on our budget worksheet is your wedding budget, there's no right numbers for anything. Right. It's all about your priorities. So if food is most important, if music is most important, if photo, video, the guest experience, the decor, whatever it is that's important to you, put your money there. Right. If something's important to you, put your money there. And if it's not important, then don't put your money there. Say, food's not important. Let's just have hors d'oeuvres. Do what's important to you. Like there's, at this point in the game with weddings, there's no right or wrong answers, with where you put that money. So you do what's important to you. So
say 31 flavors, because we get 31 flavors with our brides. No bride is going to be exactly the same. Right. So everything you just said. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In 30 seconds, can you tell me how you guys work to make sure that every bride's experience is unique with you?
We take every wedding uber serious, but we never forget to have fun and love on the wedding. We take the same approach of serving. We have a servant's heart on the wedding day. So that's where it all starts. That's where it all begins. That's where it all ends. From the first song to the last song, we're serving the family. So just know when you trust us, when you hire us on, we're going to serve you, and whatever it takes, and we're going to do that, baby. If we don't get arrested, we're in.
I love that. That's good. We'll keep you out of jail.
Right.
So,
thank you.
Well, this has been a great conversation, JC. I appreciate you taking the time to chat. Tell us, how can couples or vendors reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so With that being said, my cell phone, old school, 661-549-7002. You can hit us up on our website at the Three Doves, allsoundmusicentertainment.com. It's kind of long, but with that being said, you can also take the short way, visit us on IG, which I use most frequently. We have 2 IG pages. One is our first one, our primary one is ASM Weddings with an S at the end. The other one is ASM Dance Floors. Whatever your particular cup of tea is, if you need wedding planning, wedding advice, wedding questions, ASM Weddings. If you just want to rent a dance floor, which happens every day, it seems like, build your questions to ASM Dance Floors. That's how to get a hold of us.
Perfect. Okay. What is the most important thing you want to leave couples with as they're walking away from this conversation with you?
We're a what you see is what you get company. So when you schedule a Zoom and you go through that hour-long Zoom with me, everything that you saw, all the charisma and all the passion and everything, that's going to translate onto your day of. If that connects with you, please, by all means, we would be honored to pull the trigger. Trust us with your wedding day. That's the big thing with, they trust us with the wedding day. They don't just hire us. So long story short, we're going to give you our best one way or another. Whatever's going on with us here does not translate over there. We're going to give it all 5-6 hours, however long we're there. You're going to get our best.
Awesome. Well, thank you, JC, for giving us your best today on the show. Thanks for being on the show. Oh, heck yeah. Love it. Love it. Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for next week's episode where we'll chat with another vendor and keep going on this wedding planning journey. If you like today's episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on Apple, iTunes, and YouTube, where we have the video version of the show. Be sure to leave us a comment or review. Let us know what you liked, what you learned. And until next time, I'm Josh from Evermoore Films. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Show.